I'm Ariel Hurst from ScrumHub.com, and welcome back to our series from the Agile Development Conference. This week we asked our panelists question 6, is process overhead?
For me, process is about wasting as little money as possible. It's about discovering that we're on the wrong path or the technologies don't work as quickly as possible. It's overhead in the same way that buying your developers faster computers is overhead. Yes, it costs you more money, but in theory, they'll get done more quickly because they're not sitting here on 386s watching the hourglass.
I actually come from a process background, so I love process. However, when you're thinking about process, how can you make it as lightweight as possible? So instead of creating a 15-page document, would a diagram and a swim lane diagram put up on a wall be sufficient?
Everything is about balance, right? So it's all about saying that the activities that I do, is there more value out of them than the cost it is for me to actually do those things? And so that's how I look at everything. So I write test automation because there's huge value, and the value is much higher. I do test-driven development as a developer because there's huge value in it. The retrospective, for example, yeah, there is overhead associated with having a retrospective, but it is the meeting that teams have where it's internal looking and we say, how do we as a team get better at what we're doing? How do we improve our craft? How do we deliver more working software? How do we get better, right? So it definitely is overhead. The question that everybody should be asking themselves is it worth it or not?
It's process overhead, yes. Explain. It can be used as almost like a shield to forget about delivering working software to your customers.
Anything spent not delivering working product is absolutely overhead. We want to spend the very least amount of time we can doing anything but delivering excellent customer visible value with quality.
Well, all management is waste in some sense, right? And so therefore all process is waste in some sense. But the question is, how much is minimally necessary? So Agile doesn't say don't do process. It says what's the minimum process that could possibly work? And that's going to change depending on your context. But in a lot of places where we're dealing with really significant products where lots of people, sometimes hundreds, are all working within the same code base, within the same product, we got to introduce just enough process to enable that to scale and then synchronize across teams. So I don't think that process is necessarily wasteful because they would have wasted a lot more time and effort trying to do that in an ad hoc or top-down way.
I think it's sometimes a tax, but it's a little bit like I used to produce music, and one of the things I felt like I did really well as a producer is I was organized enough so I could be very creative. And I sort of feel like there's always some kind of organizational tax you pay so that you have an idea where you're going and you want to pour most of your energy into trying to get there.
So you do need just enough process, so it helps the team. And different teams, different setups can decide on the process that they want. Agile is a framework. It offers you some blue lines, if you can think of, and then what do you do with the process? It is the teams that decide what works for them and what to put and how.
Process is required to actually become efficient and effective. The concept of over-process or having too much overhead often happens when we talk about a methodology, which means we're telling people not only how to learn, we're telling them explicitly what to do. So my recommendation is, I guess, get back to the Scrum principles, control chaos. We have to be somewhere between total chaos and total control, and that's just enough process. And that's what I believe Scrum and Kanban provide.